Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Trader Summit, and I'm really excited to bring in this next guest. He is the president of Wave Traders, but he's also a contractor with Forex Analytics. He does a lot of analysis in the markets and really the best Elliot Wave test technician I've actually ever met. Grega, I'm excited to have you here. How are you?
I'm fine. Watching this sell-off on stocks, wondering how far we can go, but I'm fine. I just
You,
love these moves because then we have something to count.
Yeah, well. There we go. And I think that's what's on everybody's mind right now. Everybody wants to know. Well, they have a couple of questions, and maybe you can help us out and show us some of your wave counts in the market.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
but people are wondering, have stocks topped here? Is this like a major top? And then also, you look at gold, and we have all the reasons why gold should be going higher, and I can't really find a reason that it shouldn't go higher. So
Yeah,
I'm
why not?
interested. I'm really interested to see your wave count there. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, tell us a little bit about how you feel about these markets, but how you approach your Elliott wave counts, because you're not just a technician. You take in other information as well, don't you?
Well, yeah, of course. We have to consider what Fed is planning to do, what is the sentiment, in which financial cycle we are currently trading. But as you know, at the end of the day, everything comes from the dollar. If you have dollar right, you have everything right. Well, at least that's what they are saying. But for the last few months, it's been challenging. As you know, stocks been moving to the upside. Dollar has recovered, and even gold made a very nice, impressive jump as well. So I will share a few charts here. Just let me share my screen real quick.
Yeah, let's see him. And I was just going to say, Elliott Wave counts the thing to me, for me as a trader. It's one of those concepts that I struggle to really understand, and I think the way that you explain it really makes a lot of sense to most people.
Yeah, it's Elliott waves. Are not really hard. The hard is if Elliott wave traders are trying to count waves on very unclear directional trends. So like a very sideways price action where you don't have a very clear vision what is going on. But if you try to focus on clear patterns where you have clear direction, that's when Elliott wave show its power, because it's much easier to predict what is correction and what is an impulse and where we may go next. So here we have gold. Okay, gold, very long-term chart. That's a monthly chart that goes, what, 15 years back or so. And what we are seeing is a very nice impulsive price action here on gold. You can see that obviously we are breaking to new all-time highs. And this is happening despite the fact that Fed is holding current rates at these current levels. Of course, there's speculations that they will potentially cut the rates, but when they will do it, maybe gold will move even higher. Because if you look here back in 2008, when Fed started to cutting rates, gold started actually to break higher. Same thing here after 2018, 2019, 2020. We have seen a jump to the upside on gold when Fed has lowered the rates. And now again, if we are going to see really these speculations that will come true by the end of the year, that they will cut, well, I think that this could potentially put more fuel here on this gold, which is already bullish right now. So in my opinion, based on what is going on with inflation, what is going on regarding the situation on the Middle East, I just think that gold has much more upside potential. It's very strong despite very strong US dollar. And I think that this, when Fed will act, as I said, I just think that gold will, in my opinion, continue even higher.
So I'm sorry, I had myself on mute.
Sure.
As far as gold goes, why hasn't, and I think this is where you have to come back to the dollar, because as you just said, getting the dollar right, you can get pretty much everything right. But in this case, we've seen gold and the dollar move up at the same time. So how do you feel about the dollar index?
Looking at the dollar index, I just think that it will see at some point limited upside. I still think that this year we could see a reversal, and I will show you this chart first, okay? So here we have on the top, I'm looking at the dollar index monthly scale. We are in a very big upward channel here, but it's a very similar one to this that goes back to 1995 and topped out here in 2001. And after that, we have seen a very sharp fall. So this was the very similar recovery here up from 2008. And since we stopped at the upper side of this channel, I just think that we will see the reversal to the lower side of this channel once the current correction that we are tracking will be finished. And eventually this reversal to the downside will come if inflation, you can see still we are away from the target, 2% inflation is lower. And when the Fed rates, which is at the bottom of this chart, would really come to the downside from the current levels. So typically, if you look here on this cycle for the last, 20 years or so, we are pretty much at this extreme. So I really do not believe that Fed will go much higher here. I just think that we will either stay at these levels or even potentially we'll see cutting rates from Powell, and this will eventually send dollar index towards these lower prices. Also, I want to show you this chart. Okay, keep in mind that Elliott waves are fractal. What means fractal? It means that you will see similar patterns from higher to smaller time frames. And if you look at the price action from that October 2022 highs, okay, you will actually see that there we have a very nice clear 5-wave movement. Okay, so that's the drop. You have a very nice clean 5 waves down. And usually this means, this shows you the real current direction of a trend. We know that the previous uptrend was very strong. We cannot deny that, but it's a top formation when you have a reversal from the highs in 5 waves, not in 3 waves. So that's probably the most important when I look at the bigger picture of the US dollar index.
I was just going to say that, sorry to interrupt, that is a really, really key takeaway from an Elliott wave perspective, but also, you know, for me, that I don't really understand Elliott waves as well as obviously somebody like yourself. This is where I can cue off of that and say, well, okay, so the dollar that we're seeing right now is just a recovery, and it isn't typical for us, or the dollar index to hit new highs from here. We should be starting to look for a reversal, maybe not starting right at this moment, but starting to look for a reversal once we find a near-term topping pattern. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. When we look at this pattern right now, right here, so as you said, 5 waves down, this shows us the direction of a trend, right? But even 5-wave movements, which are impulses, will see some retracement, some counter trend pullback. So it's a 5-step forward, 3 steps back. That's how it works. Market will not just move in one direction forever. And what we are tracking right now is a counter trend movement against the previous 5-wave drop. So everyone were bearish down here, okay? And what market does? The opposite. Now, when we'll start seeing new higher prices here in the near term, maybe up to 108, well, you will see that everyone will start calling much higher prices. Maybe potentially even will start looking back towards 2022 highs. But for me, this will be the late stages of this counter trend movement, which has a very nice resistance at the 61.8% here, around 108, 109. But there is a chance that if we don't break 107, that maybe this will consolidate further. So in my opinion, there is room for more upside, but in the next, let's say, 3-4 months, we will potentially see a top formation here on dollar index and reversal to the downside. So since I mentioned, we have 5 waves down, counter trend movement, and that's the clear pattern that we are tracking. So 5 waves down, now tracking a counter trend movement. And once this wave C approaches potential resistance levels, typically the 61.8%, that's when we can resume back to the downside. So I will stick to this pattern as long we are trading here below that level. So I will be wrong on a big scale here on dollar index only if we break this and rally back towards this September, October 2022 highs. But what should happen for this dollar to come back up here? Well, we should see some very catastrophic, strong sell-off across different assets, especially on stock markets. But
so speaking of which, I'd love to see your views on the S&P before we wrap up.
Yeah, so if look at the stock market, the S&P 500, you can see that we are obviously trading at new all-time highs. Always when you try to approach the Elliott Wave analysis here, if I have the possibility, if the rules allows me to label the wave count correctly to stay with the trend, then I will definitely label the wave count so that I will stay with the trend, because there is no reason to fight the trend at all-time highs. Just because S&P 500 has sold off for a few percentages, that doesn't mean that it's a multi-year top or something, okay? So I have to respect the trend, the cycles, and just be aware that there are always pullbacks within the higher degree trends. It's always been the case here, since if you look at the left side of the peak of this chart here, through 2020, 2021, we have some very nice pullbacks on the way up. And I think that this current cycle can be very, very similar one. Okay, so I think that we are now in a corrective pose here that will take us even higher. But sometimes it's very tricky to say, especially for those who are not familiar with Elliott Waves or Fibonacci tools, how to use it with Elliott Waves. Sometimes it's very tricky to predict where exactly we could bottom. But if we say that maybe wave 3 has stopped out here because we moved into some Fibonacci extensions of this wave 1 and wave 2, then we can assume that we are in a wave 4. Wave 4 can be very similar to distance in wave 2. So here we have this wave 2 pullback. That takes us back to 4,800, around there. Then you have the 38.2% right at this level. The 38.2% is the most important fib level when you are tracking, observing the counter-trend movement against the previous extended wave 3, like has been in our case. So again, we came out with a very similar level here, 4,800. So I think that this whole zone is very interesting, especially because this takes us back to this 2022 swing high. So if we are in a retracement, I will allow market to pull back all the way back to this area and still could be part of an uptrend. And of course, when this correction will accomplish here within wave 4, that's when I assume the dollar index will potentially turn back to the downside. And maybe this will happen when Fed will finally cut the rates, and possibly this could be after summer of 2024.
So the way I see it at this moment in time, based on what you're showing us, Grega, is that you are not bearish stocks. I mean, you are maybe near term.
Neutral.
Yeah, you're okay. Let's say you in your words, you're neutral, but really while you're above 4,800, you have to still buy dips. That's basically what it comes down to.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if we go back to that level, is, fear will probably move to extremes. There will be not a lot of interest for potential new longs down here. So that's when actually from sentiment perspective, we should ride this trend, which the Elliott Wave theory actually is. It's a tool that tracks market psychology and sentiment. And with this counting the waves, we try to define in which cycle of this sentiment the market is currently positioned.
All right. Well, that makes a lot of sense to me, Grega. And so real quick, I want to thank you for doing, the analysis on those three instruments, because it's really important to put it all together in a big puzzle as you've done. But I do want to really quick, before we go, I want to talk a little bit about what you do, because you're obviously the CEO of Wave Traders. You provide an Elliott Wave analysis for Forex analytics, but you also work one-on-one with traders. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Trader Coach and how you work one-on-one with individual traders and how they can spend time with you one-on-one.
Actually, what I do is I show them my full process of how I analyze the markets, where I start counting waves, how I use different guidelines and market correlations so that I'm more confident with my potential outlook, or that I'm more confident with my bias before building a trade plan for a particular market that I'm interested. So I have the whole list of different rules and guidelines how I approach the markets. And of course, I tried this to represent to our visitors and in this coaching program.
Well, I know from this site you can actually book Grega one-on-one. You can actually look forward. Well, there's nothing in June, but in May you got a couple of slots that are available, and I think this is really great because traders can actually contact you one-on-one. They can talk to you and really get the mechanics of how to do Elliott waves, and I think that's important for a lot of traders like myself that maybe I've been trading around the markets for the last 25 years, and I really don't understand the concepts, but I understand other concepts. But if I really want to polish these Elliott wave skills, doing it with you one-on-one makes a lot of sense to me. So
Because sometimes it's much easier to hear from someone else rather than just reading something from the book and watching the charts. And then when someone explains you maybe from a different perspective, well, then maybe when you have effect, and that's maybe the different approach when you have someone on the other side that have experience using the Elliott waves.
And I'll tell you, Grega, you always think, because I've talked to you so many times over the last, I don't know, we've been working together maybe the last 7-8 years, and I've talked to you so many times, and you're like, oh, my English isn't great. I'll tell you what, I understand you perfectly fine. Anything that you say. So I don't think anybody else is going to have any difficulties understanding your English. So thank you so much, Grega, for spending your time with us. Really, thank you for providing analysis and some actionable items near term, trade ideas, near term for us at the Trader Summit.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, and I'll definitely have you back here on the summit within the next few weeks.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Hey traders, Blake Morrow here. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also click the bell notifications so you do not miss any of our market-related trading analysis from some of the leading industry experts. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you in the next video.